All right, let's jump into another deep dive. You guys know how this works. You send us the good stuff, the books that really get you thinking, and we crack them open together.
Always a good time.
Today's pick is a real gem. Someone sent in The Uncensored History of Books, a rational approach to understanding the evolution of literature.
Oh yeah, by Conrad Riker.
That's the one. I gotta admit, the title alone had me hooked.
Really?
We were talking about the impact of books, not just on individuals, but on whole societies, like how they shape beliefs and norms. That's some powerful stuff.
It really is. Riker takes this this fascinating approach, looking at how writing itself, in all its different forms, has been this driving force throughout human history.
It's crazy when you think about it. We start with cave paintings and end up in the digital age. It's like this incredible journey of communication, from those early attempts to capture the world around us to everything we have today.
It highlights something pretty fundamental about us, doesn't it? This innate human need to communicate, to share stories, to pass on knowledge, whether it's on a cave wall or a smartphone screen.
That's a great point. It's like the medium changes, but that core desire, that impulse to express ourselves, that stays the same. So, okay, cave paintings, I get that they're telling stories, but they're not exactly what I picture when I think of books,
Right. But think about it this way. Our ancestors huddled around a fire, sharing their experiences and knowledge through those images. But the primal origin of storytelling, right? Way before written language even existed, it's how they made sense of the world.
I never thought about it like that. It's like the original visual medium way before Instagram or TikTok.
Exactly.
So how did we go from those pretty basic images to the complex writing systems we have now? I mean, it's a huge leap.
It was a gradual process, for sure, driven by the need for more detailed record keeping and, of course, more nuanced storytelling. Take cuneiform, for example. Developed by the ancient Sumerians, it used wedge-shaped marks on clay tablets to represent words and ideas.
Clay tablet sounds pretty fragile.
They were surprisingly durable. And they allowed the Sumerians to document everything, from trade transactions to epic poems like the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's a far cry from a hunting scene on a cave wall.
Oh, absolutely. Cuneiform was a big step forward. But I can't imagine trying to learn all those symbols. Must have been incredibly difficult.
It was.
So how did we end up with the alphabet we use today? The one that actually makes sense.
Well, we can thank the ancient Phoenicians for that. They came up with this ingenious system where each symbol represented a consonant sound. And then the Greeks took it a step further, adding vowels, which simplified things even more.
So that's where it all started. Pretty amazing, right? Like, we owe so much to these ancient civilizations.
We really do. They laid the foundation for the written word as we know it, and that paved the way for everything that came after.
And speaking of groundbreaking, let's talk about the printing press. I mean, Johannes Gutenberg's invention in the 15th century. That was a total game changer. It's like the world went from black and white to full color.
It's hard to overstate the impact of the printing press. Riker calls it the Gutenberg Revolution, and for good reason. The ability to mass-produce books, it democratized access to knowledge like never before.
Right. Suddenly, books weren't just for the elite or the clergy. They were available to the masses.
Exactly.
And that sparked new ideas, fueled social and political movements, like the Renaissance and the Reformation. It's kind of mind-blowing. In fact, Riker even argues that the printing press threatened the church's control over information, which, when you think about it, makes a lot of sense. Throughout history, those in power have often tried to, control the flow of information.
It's a recurring theme, for sure. Knowledge is power, and those who hold that power often resist its wider distribution.
Yeah. It makes you wonder about how institutions, even today, are grappling with that same challenge, especially in the age of the internet. But that's a whole other deep dive.
Definitely.
For now, let's stick with Riker and his take on this uncensored history of books. And speaking of today, we can't forget about the digital revolution and the rise of ebooks. I mean, it's another huge shift, right? From paper to pixel. I'm curious to hear what Riker has to say about this.
Well, he dives into both the upsides and the downsides. He acknowledges that ebooks have made reading more accessible than ever before. You've got a whole library at your fingertips. And, self-publishing platforms have given a voice to authors who might not have had a chance in the traditional publishing world.
That's a good point. It's like the barriers to entry have been lowered in some ways, but I also worry about the decline of physical books. There's something about holding a book in your hands, the smell of the paper, the weight of it.
I know what you mean.
It's a different experience. Right. And it makes you wonder if we lose something in the transition to the digital realm. Like, does literature itself become devalued?
It's a valid concern. And Riker explores that tension, that sense of loss. He even talks about the potential for increased censorship on digital platforms.
Yeah. It's easier to control the flow of information when it's all digital, isn't it? So it seems like every step forward in communication technology comes with its own set of challenges.
That's true.
From cave paintings to clay tablets to the printing presses to ebook, it's like this constant push and pull between progress and control, between access and restriction.
Definitely. And understanding that tension, that's key to understanding the uncensored history of books.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Last time we were talking about the evolution of books, from those early cave paintings to the digital age. And, we touched on how those in power have often tried to control information, to control what people read and think. But today I want to get into something a bit more personal, the psychology of reading. Like, what's actually happening in our brains when we get lost in a good book?
Well, it's more than just passively taking in words, right? It's this active process where our brains are working overtime to create those mental images, invoke emotions, and even connect what we're reading to our own lives. It's like building a world inside your head.
I totally get that. I remember reading To Kill a Mockingbird when I was a kid, and I felt like I was right there in Macomb, Alabama, experiencing everything with Scout. It was so vivid.
And that emotional engagement, that's a big part of why books are so impactful. Riker argues that it's not just about understanding the plot, it's about feeling what the characters feel, seeing the world through their eyes. It's that empathy that really draws us in.
So does that mean different genres affect us in different ways? Like, would reading a crime thriller trigger different responses in my brain than, say, a romance novel?
Absolutely. Riker goes into detail about how different genres cater to our different psychological needs and desires. Like crime fiction, it plays on our natural curiosity, that need for resolution. We get caught up in the mystery, trying to solve the puzzle along with the detective.
Well, I love a good whodunit. I'm always trying to guess the ending before it's revealed. It's like a mental workout.
Right, but then you have genres like romance or fantasy. They don't have that same puzzle-solving element. So what's the appeal there?
Yeah, what is it about those genres that hooks us?
Well, they tap into different desires. Romance novels, for instance. They fulfill that longing for connection, intimacy, a happy ending. It's a way to experience those emotions vicariously through the characters. And fantasy, that's pure escapism. We get to explore these entirely different worlds, confront our fears in a safe space. Epic battles, mythical creatures, magic, it's all there.
It's interesting how Riker connects these genres to basic human needs and desires. It's like each genre offers a different kind of emotional or intellectual payoff, which maybe explains why some books become bestsellers, right?
Exactly. It's not just good writing, it's about hitting those right psychological notes at the right time.
So is there like a secret formula for a bestseller, or is it more about luck and timing?
Well, there's no guaranteed formula, but Riker does point out some common elements. Things like relatable characters, gripping plots, and a skillful use of language. But yeah, timing is definitely a factor. Like, a book that taps into current cultural trends or anxieties is more likely to resonate with readers. Remember the Da Vinci Code? That book perfectly captured the zeitgeist with its religious conspiracy theories, and it became a global phenomenon.
Oh yeah, everyone was reading that book. But, bestsellers aren't always universally loved, are they? Some books spark controversy, even calls for censorship.
That's true. Books have the power to challenge norms, provoke debate, even threaten those in power, and that's often where censorship comes in as a way to silence those dissenting voices.
And Riker doesn't shy away from that darker side of literary history, right? He talks about those book burnings, the attempts to suppress ideas that were considered dangerous.
It's a reminder that controlling information has always been a tactic of oppression. And the scary thing is, it's not just a relic of the past. We still see attempts to ban books today, often for political or religious reasons.
It's crazy to think that in this day and age, people are still trying to dictate what others can and can't read. So what are the main arguments for and against censorship, according to Riker?
Well, those who support censorship often argue that it's necessary to protect society from harmful ideas.
Yeah.
Things that might incite violence or hatred. They believe certain books, especially those dealing with sensitive topics, should be kept away from children or vulnerable populations.
But then the question becomes, who gets to decide what's harmful or inappropriate? It seems like a very slippery slope, doesn't it?
It is, and that's the core of the debate. Opponents of censorship argue that it's a violation of free speech and that it hinders intellectual curiosity. They believe that even if we find certain ideas offensive or disturbing, we should still have the right to access them and engage with them critically.
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Controlling information is about power. And censorship prevents us from grappling with difficult truths and having those open discussions that are so important for a healthy society.
Exactly. And Riker points out that censorship often backfires. It can make those banned books even more desirable. It's that classic forbidden fruit effect. The more you try to suppress something, the more people want it.
It's like our natural instinct is to resist being told what to think, what to read. We want to make up our own minds. But speaking of the future, what does Riker see on the horizon for books in this world that's increasingly dominated by technology.
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Conrad Reicher's The Uncensored History of Books. We talked about everything from cave paintings to the digital age, the psychology of reading, and the never-ending battle against censorship. So as we wrap things up, what are some of the key takeaways that stand out to you?
You know, one thing that really struck me is just how resilient the written word is. Throughout history, books have faced all sorts of threats, from wars and fires to political upheaval and technological disruptions. But they've endured, carrying knowledge and stories across generations.
It's true. It's like they have this innate ability to survive, to pass the torch of information, even when powerful forces try to extinguish it. We talk about book burnings and bans, attempts to silence certain voices and ideas, but often those acts of suppression just make people even more curious.
Exactly. It speaks to that human need for knowledge, that drive to explore different perspectives, even those deemed dangerous or taboo. Trying to suppress that often backfired.
It's like you can't hold back the tide. People will always find a way to access the information they crave. But, and Riker makes this point too, it's not just about access, it's also about how we engage with the information we consume. Especially in this digital age where misinformation spreads so easily.
He's right. We can't just passively absorb everything we read, whether it's in a book, an article, or a social media post. We need to develop those critical thinking skills, questioning sources, identifying biases, considering alternative viewpoints.
It's like we need to become our own editors, curating the information we take in and developing a healthy dose of skepticism. But how do we balance that skepticism with the joy of just getting lost in a good story? Sometimes you just want to escape into a fictional world without overthinking everything right now.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance. We can still enjoy those imaginative journeys and emotional connections that books offer, but it's also important to be aware of the messages they convey, the perspectives they present, and how they might be shaping our understanding of the world.
So it's about reading with both our hearts and minds engaged, open to new ideas, but also ready to question what we encounter.
Exactly. And that's where the real power of books lies. They can transport us to different worlds, introduce us to new ways of thinking, and challenge our assumptions. They can spark conversations, ignite movements, and inspire change. But they can also be used to manipulate, to control, and to suppress.
It all comes back to that tension we keep talking about, right? That push and pull between the power of knowledge and those who seek to control it. So looking ahead, what does the future hold for books in this age of rapid technological advancement? Will physical books become a thing of the past, replaced by ebooks and audiobooks? Will AI start writing the bestsellers of tomorrow?
Well, Riker doesn't try to predict the future, and I think that's wise. The future of books is still being written, literally and figuratively. But technology will definitely continue to play a huge role in how we read, write, and share stories. I mean, just look at what's already happening with ebooks, audiobooks, online reading platforms, and even AI-powered writing tools.
It's exciting and a little bit daunting to think about where it's all heading. But at the end of the day, technology is just a tool. It can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us to decide how we use it, how we shape the future of literature.
Right. Will we use AI to create more personalized, interactive reading experiences? Or will we let it homogenize content, stifle those diverse voices and perspectives that make literature so rich and vibrant?
Those are some important questions to consider. But amidst all the technological advancements, it's crucial to remember the things that have always made books so powerful. The freedom to read, to write, to share ideas without fear of censorship, and that fundamental human need for stories that connect us, challenge us, and inspire us.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to wrap up this deep dive, I want to say thanks for joining us on this exploration of the uncensored history of books. It's been a thought-provoking journey, and hopefully it's left you with some new insights and renewed appreciation for the power of the written word.
It certainly has for me.
If you want to dive deeper into this fascinating topic, be sure to check out Conrad Reicher's book. It's available on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books. And remember, keep those pages turning and those minds engaged.